Today it's time for the grand finals of this week's ESL Open Cup. It's for the North American server and it's a best of 5 series between some of my favorite North Americans. Because first off, in the top left hand corner, joined right here by the little polar bear on the main command center, we have none other than Clem. His opponent in the opposite corner, going for a 15 hatch it looks like, we have none other than Jack Frost. Now, in case the name Jack Frost does not ring a bell, this is Reynor's nickname that he's currently playing under. Reynor apparently decided to dye his hair recently, and now he kind of looks like Jack Frost. So this is the idea that he's currently playing under. This particular series was played for the ESL Open Cup North America. I would imagine that these games are played on the European server, especially since Clem does have the little polar bear. I think he only has this on the EU server, but generally speaking, the games have to be played on NA, unless, I believe, if the players agree that they want to play on a different server instead. Anyhow, anybody can sign up, so in case you're unfamiliar, these are weekly tournaments. Anybody can sign up. There's one for the Korean version, or one of the Korean regions, rather. Then we have the European region, as well as the North American one. And generally speaking, the Koreans don't play in the European one, but they do like to play in the North American one, and the same for the Europeans. They don't really mess around on the Korean server too much, but they do play in NA. So let's have a look. Interesting start right here for Jack Frost. It's a nickname that's just gonna crack me up. A 15 hatch is something that Reynor for the longest time didn't really like to go for. He was one of the few Zergs at this level who really wasn't mixing it in, at least as much in the games that I saw. A lot of the top tier pros, like for example, Serral and Dark, and a bunch of the other guys were messing around with it, but Reynor, in general, just did not seem to be that big of a fan. Then again, though, he's going up against Clem, and Clem has got some of the very best Reaper control in the world. Generally speaking, the advantage in going for a 15 hatchery over a 16 hatch is that the queen pops about, it depends on the execution, but about 10 to 12 seconds earlier. And because of that, well, that very first Reaper is a lot easier to push away. So normally you will have to dance with the Zerglings, your drones are in a little bit of trouble. And you're ultimately safe, of course, when the queen pops. With this particular start right here for Reynor, well, unless he gets the drone, he actually decided to double. Yeah, that's actually kind of clever. So he sent 2 drones. Okay, I think this has already been figured out right now by Clem, so he must have realized that the queen is going to pop a little earlier today. So he will be able to block this particular expansion. Okay. I thought the Reaper was going to be able to... Yeah, no, I agree. I thought the Reaper was going to be able to block that gas geyser. So if you actually hug the Reaper against the gas, you cannot morph in the gas geyser there as the Zerg. Anyways, a little bit of a cheeky question mark. Right now, Clem will find out exactly what's going on. And it turns out all of that harassment over at what he thought was going to be the third base didn't really matter all that much. A little bit of a skirmish here. We did have double inject as well right here for Reynor, so yeah, he actually doesn't really have any crew threat going around just yet. We're going to go for a quick Roach Warren. So it looks to me like he's skipping out link speed entirely as well. Yeah. Okay. In the meantime, on the other side of the map, we've got ourselves a triple command center start. I haven't really been talking about Clem's build too much, but that's also because Clem basically does this build in every single one of his games. He does mix it up a little, especially as of late. We see some quick double barrack starts for him. We sometimes see him go like Viking into Liberator. But yeah, against a Roach Warren start, when you scout it nice and early, it makes perfect sense. Well, he actually hasn't seen it, but he can assume at the very least that roaches are a possibility here. Because it seems like usually these threats do lead to roaches rather than lynx. It makes a lot of sense for him to focus on Hellions as well as on the Banshees. So, looks like we're going to be building at least 2 Banshees. I always like the Hyperflight Rotors upgrade. Still feel like it's a bit underutilized. That is the Banshee speed improvement. Now, this is kind of a nice drive-by. But no real damage done. The roaches right now have been spotted as well. So, Reynor goes for 7 roaches here in total, and then he continues droning again. So this is just safety roaches. Yeah, it's a bit funky. It seems like too many roaches to be safe. You know what I mean? Like 7 roaches feels like more than you need to defend against whatever Terran wants to throw at you at this point in the game. Because you don't need 7 to fight a bunch of Hellions. 7 looks a lot more like a group of units that you want to send across the map. But maybe it's just... Maybe 7 is like the perfect number to like one-shot certain Terran units? It's a curious thing anyways. I've seen him go for specifically 7 in a couple of these games lately. Okay. Additional barracks coming up right now for Clem. 3rd Command Center already flying on down towards the low ground. And so far, no real damage done right here by the French Terran player. But of course, with this particular opener, you also don't really need to deal that much damage. That's one of the main advantages here for Terran. With the quick triple CC, you get so much income from those mules early on that you really don't need that many workers. Or that much worker, you know, damage on the other side of the map. Now, we do see quite a shift from the highest ranked Zerg players in the world as of late in this particular matchup. You'd have to ask them exactly as to why that is, but I would imagine it's mostly due to the Baneling situation, since the Baneling got double nerfed with the most recent balance patch. Initially, the Zergs all tried playing their old build orders, but it doesn't seem like it's as popular as of late. So they go for a lot of late upgrades now. Focus on roaches first, and then usually it seems to be a very fast hive. At the very least from Serral. Serral's going super quick hive. So he puts down an infestation pit right about right now. Okay. Roach speed coming up. It is a melee upgrade, so ultimately, even though, yeah, Roach speed and Ling speed are researching at the same time, we will see a switch towards Ling Bane, I would imagine, but just the way in getting there is a bit funky. There's the infestation pit. So not quite as quick as Serral's hive, but still a fast hive nonetheless. I'm not exactly sure why we switched it up this much, because these early games really are different. I mean, he may just be switching it up here just for the sake of throwing a bit of a curveball and practicing different builds. There's something to be said for that, but this doesn't really seem to lead anywhere in particular for the Zerg, you know? Like, he doesn't really take damage, sure. His upgrades are late, so you can't really go for a timing attack. It just leads to a macro game, and it's not like I've seen a lot of Zergs be particularly successful in the late game of Terran versus Zerg as of late either. So, I don't know, I'm a little conflicted by this start. It seems good enough, but it also gives Clem all of the room that he would ever need in a game. And I think Clem is more than happy to play the macro game. Okay. There's the Baneling speed coming up. So we will be getting there eventually. +2/+2. Nice and early here as well for the Terran, who's just happily playing the same unit composition that he's been playing for a long while. A lot of Zerg players as of late don't really seem to be that big of a fan of the late game because of, again, that Baneling nerf. Terrans used to switch out from their unit composition that was mostly based around Marines, but nowadays they seem to be pretty keen to just stick around on Marines for a lot longer. Doesn't look like a feel all too forced, for example, to switch it up and go into like Ghost Mech, which is what we used to see for quite a while. Okay. Well, I guess this is going to give us a perfect example of what exactly Reynor is looking for with this sort of start. Because it kind of feels to me like this forces the macro game and it forces the late game. But that also seems precisely the point in the game where a lot of Terrans feel really strong right now. This is also a really scary push actually here for Clem. Baneling speed is done. We have a bunch of Zerglings coming around the site. That is fantastically done. That is going to be the end for 2 siege tanks, it looks like, and he will easily be able to clean this up. Marines running away as fast as possible. 90 drones here in total. Okay. Adrenal glands coming up. Vipers right now on the production tab. So Clem hit a perfect timing right there, right before any sort of Viper play could really be out. But it turns out Zerglings from the site may just be a little bit more effective than even a couple of Vipers. But that was a perfect hold right there for the Italian Zerg. Great splits. Okay, Marines and Hellions pushing forward over here. We don't have enough room in the plane, so we gotta stand and fight for at least a little while. Push over here on the right side as well. Hurting a bunch of the queens. One of the Medivacs getting overly ambitious, and I've got a feeling that more of them will end up going down. Push in the meantime on the left side of the map was cleaned up. But mostly because there wasn't that much room in the Medivacs, right? So he could only save as much as he could fit. Alrighty. So that is barracks 6, 7, and 8. We'll probably see tech labs on those. And then we should see a Ghost Academy here as well in a moment. As long as we... Yeah, we don't already have one. Ultra Cavern coming up. Isn't it an interesting start though here from Zergs? Like, I am really curious about this. We saw Serral doing a very similar thing as we do once again have an attack coming up here. It seems needlessly complex to start with Roach Ravager and late upgrades and then still switch to Ling Bane Ultra. Okay. Biles here at the very least keeping that army at bay for a little while. Clem doing a good job though, pushing over here in the middle. Losing most of his units on the right side of the map. There's the Ghost Academy. Good timing on that too. 5th Command Center coming up. Yeah. And this will probably be the moment where Clem is thinking, yo, can I close out this game in the next couple of minutes? Or do I make a dozen Command Centers? Well, Command Center number 2 on the production tab. +3 for the infantry units. Medivacs on the right side. +3 infantry armor as well coming up. Not to be forgotten, of course. But apparently we're going to round out our unit composition with good old... Well, Widow Mines, yeah. Additional Command Centers coming up. So, Clem, more than happy to play the macro game. So how good are Ultras in this scenario? Well, they don't have chitinous plating yet, so they're currently absolutely atrocious. But chitinous plating is on the horizon. That upgrade, when it finishes, is going to make those Ultras... Yeah, I was going to say good, but I... Man, I'm casting these games, but I'm slowly turning into a bit of a Zerg hater. I'm sorry, guys. It's just that I've seen so many games exactly like this one over the last couple of weeks where it just falls flat on its face. These weird Roach Ravager starts into Lingbane Ultra and then Zerg still loses. I'm trying to figure out what the main advantage is. I like this situation a whole lot better for Clem. And that is without much of a bank here. So if you look right now at the amount of resources that both players have available, Reynor is going to be able to remax multiple times relatively easily. Well, maybe not multiple times, but he's going to be able to throw away most of his army and then remax once more. Is this a position he can really break? Well, now we have some nice upgrades done right here for the Zerg. This is what he's been building up for the last 13 minutes. Vipers end up going down, it looks like, against those Vikings. Was that good enough? This was horrible, no? This is right before Clem is mixing in Liberators in his unit comp 2. So he just started up his second starport. Liberator ranged is going to be a viable option here momentarily too. The only thing that's a little sketchy here for Clem at the moment is the fact that he does still have all of those command centers, but they haven't really paid for themselves yet. So he's actually forgotten making an orbital command over here. 10 SCVs have now gone down. 6 Ultras. So really just doubling down on Ultralisk here. Okay. Now the Roach Ravager army is mostly gone. These guys used to have a lot more friends. They have been destroyed at this point. Caduceus reactor on the production tab, okay. So that is not what I expected, especially against Ultras. That's an interesting decision here for Clem. So this is the upgrade that allows the Medivacs to regenerate energy twice as fast. I would have assumed this was going to be Liberator ranged every single time, but he's not actually making any libs. There finally one starts up, but relatively late. Second wave of Banelings. This is a scary amount of units, and now SCVs are starting to fall. Ghosts a little exposed, Marines end up going down. Command Center also disappears. Okay. Corrosive Biles land right there on that last Banshee, and looks like Clem is gonna have to run even further away. Did Reynor just do this? What a funky style of playing Zerg. I don't have a lot of faith in this particular strat, but it seems to be working out surprisingly well. Okay. We have another factory here on the production tab. I guess that's because he lost his second factory at the front. Yeah, it seems like Clem has actually miscalculated this particular game a little bit. Not respecting the Ultralisks nearly as much as he should have. Only just now is when Liberators and Ghosts are working together to try and kill those big boy Zerg units, but they're just breaking through everything. They're derping around a little bit, but there it is. GG is cold. And Reynor obtains the victory in game number 1. Okay, so game number 2. We find ourselves on the map Solaris. So I just spent about 10 minutes trashing the build order that Reynor was playing, and then he won the game. So where exactly? I mean, it's not a terrible build. I just kind of feel like if you want to go for that particular timing attack, you could have hit like a minute earlier with the same upgrades if you would have skipped a bunch of the side steps, you know? Now, maybe the side steps are necessary, but it didn't really seem like it was a particularly safe way to start off either. On top of that, I mean, this was right before Clem really had his full macro underway, right? So he was like in the middle of his late game transition. So he was just building up the command centers. Maybe he got a little carried away and he made just a bit too much infrastructure. He was late on the Liberator switch. He didn't have his Liberator upgrade yet. As a matter of fact, he went for the Medevac upgrade first. Yeah, that was all. Maybe also a bit of a misread for Clem, where he was looking at his opponent's army, he was looking at his opponent's units, and he's like, yo, this is not really something I need to respect all too much. And then suddenly, those maxed out Ultras come chomping through, and it turns out they can pack a bit of a punch. But since the upgrades were so late for Reynor, you know, those maxed out Ultras were also pretty late. I don't know, a little conflicted about it. Maybe we'll see him do the same strategy again. That would be nice. Alrighty, SCV Scout leading a Reaper. Command center on the low ground. Looks like we're just gonna go for a standard opener here. Drones and gas. So already a little bit of a deviation here. Will we be getting Zergling speed as the very first upgrade this time around? Like the 7 roaches as well for the early game defense. It's not a terrible idea, of course. But generally speaking, you'd imagine you run them across the map, but maybe if you suspect your opponent goes for Banshees, it's not worth it at all. Now, one thing to note about both of these guys is that IEM Katowice is coming up, which is one of the first big tournaments of 2024. There is a lot of money on the line for an event like that, and I believe when this particular series was played, yeah, it was less than a month or so away, I think. So anyways, about a month. There's a very good chance as well that this is one of the last times, if not the last time, that these two are playing against each other before that tournament as the Reaper falls. Anyways, I can imagine you don't necessarily want to be giving away your very best strategies, you know what I mean? So I'm very curious to see what these guys will actually end up playing when we do have a tournament that I think has like a prize pool of, let me look this up. IEM Katowice 2024 SC2. I want to say $500,000, but I'm not exactly sure if that's accurate. Yeah, it's $500,000. So that is pretty significant, and I can imagine something that these guys would definitely like to get a nice slice off. And even though the ESL Open Cups are nice, $150,000 first place prize is a little different than the couple $100 for the weekly tournaments. So showing your very best strategies may also not necessarily be a goal. Anyways, Clem is, by the way, showing his very best strategies for the most part. He does the same game every single time. He loves playing this particular strategy, albeit one where you usually keep that first Reaper alive. So this, by the way, is a very different start right now for Reynor. So this is what we consider to be the quote-unquote standard. Putting the drones in gas again shortly before link speed finishes up. We should see a small round of Zerglings here in just a moment to defend against any cheeky Hellion pushes. He will probably make them right about right now, unless he feels like he can rely on just his queen control. And then the question is, will he go for a lair first, or will he prioritize double upgrades? This time around, it will be a Liberator here for Clem. So cutting a small corner, not going into the Banshees. Maybe only really doing that if his opponent is gonna go for quick roaches. As we do have those Hellions zipping through the green zone very rapidly. Stimpack coming up. I think this will be double upgrades here for Mr. Reynor. Bold move, Mr. Reynor. Okay. You can mine about 50 gas whilst your evolution chambers are building if you have one gas geyser mining. So if you start them up right about 200, which is right about right now, you should be okay. We're going to prioritize the spore crawlers apparently here to get the liberators going. Okay. So let's see. Third command center flying on down towards the low ground again. Yeah, Clem has been really good at playing standard games of StarCraft 2. He doesn't really open up in a very spicy way. Like this in his mind, I'm pretty sure is super spicy, okay? Not going for the Banshee, but building a Liberator instead. Yikes, dude. That's pretty wild. Okay, well, never mind. That was a Spore Crawler. Crazy boy Clem is what they used to call him. No, all jokes aside, obviously, if you don't feel like playing funky games, you don't really need to. Especially if you're as good as Clem, who obviously won the last premier tournament of 2023. Over in Atlanta. Okay. Good to see, by the way, that he's still... Oh, as he does go for a Hellion drive-by for just a moment. That's a very Clem-esque move. He does that all the time. Drives deep in and then backs off again. Anyways. Nice to see him still competing in the smaller online cups, you know what I mean? Guys like, for example, Reynor don't really play in a lot of online tournaments. But I believe he's practicing pretty hard at the moment. Both of these guys are probably practicing hard, but Clem, he usually signs up for these EPT cups, and nice to see him still doing that, even after winning a premier tournament just very recently. Okay. Supply depot wall getting set up. Second factory here at the front as well. There's the combat shields research. Bailing speed will be starting up momentarily. First real attack right here from Clem. Everything up to this point has been stock standard with his movement. This push, I mean, it's only a single attack. Oh. They did get picked up in the end. It's only a single attack, so nothing all too weird. Now, this is interesting to me. So he actually prioritized... Wait, what? Hold up, hold up, hold up. He had Burrow on the production tab. Oh, okay. I thought he was prioritizing Burrow over Bailing Speed, but then he starts up Bailing Speed, then he cancels Burrow, and he goes Overlord Speed instead. Not exactly sure about this gas expenditure. I thought for a second he really wanted to go Burrowed Bailings. But apparently, that was just a small little misplay. We'll probably see him start up +2/+2 instead here with the gas that he saved. Okay, so this is straight Hydroling Bane. Hydroling Bane is very good against these Marine Widow Mine-based unit compositions. Terran at this point autopiloting a little bit into those Widow Mines rather than focusing on any sort of siege tank play. Yeah, we have no siege tanks at all. We just have a bunch of Widow Mines. That's still very scary, though. Liberator coming in. Good control right there by Clem. Pushing at the front as well, trying to get those Banelings to detonate. Hellbats in the front. Those are the Hellions from earlier that have now been joined in with the pack. I think only like one or so of them fell before this point. That Widow Mine trying to deal some friendly fire, or at the very least, Reynor was trying to get it to deal some friendly fire. In the meantime, push over here in the middle of the map as well. Marines have managed to, find the entire clump of queens. And this is nicely done right here by Clem once again. Oh! Sorry, what? So we had those medevacs that just got destroyed by, I think, that Widow Mine. Okay, yeah, so the Widow Mine, if it connects to a Zergling, it will still deal damage to the units that are above it too. That was a very unfortunate exchange right there for Clem. Zerg players watching this are like, yes! How do you like it now, Terran? Not so good of a unit now, is it? That was a bit of a banger. Gets a taste of his own medicine. This is where the Terran players go, oh my god, I think Banelings should deal friendly fire too. Why do Widowmines deal friendly fire, but not Banelings? That was a crazy unfortunate moment right there for Clem. Because you can basically imagine his current situation, but then plus like 15 supply or so. Alright, well instead we get to move on in a nice little macro game. That really does hinder his timings though. I think he should still be able to max out before 2-2 kicks in, but... yeah, you can see him, look at him. Dallying around right here, dilly-dallying around on the creep. Just kind of scanning a little bit, you know. This is a restless man. The army of a dude who just accidentally had half of his units commit Sudoku. Okay. Well, push over here up north. Clem washed up. Yeah, he could have unburrowed that Widowmine. Absolutely. You know, he should have just played faster. In case you're unfamiliar... oh, well, we almost saw it a second time there. Both Reynor and Clem are considered to be the fastest players in StarCraft 2. But sometimes even when you have extreme speed, you're not fast enough. You should have played like Clem. If Clem would have played like Clem, I don't think that would have happened. It's a real issue. One thing to note, by the way, for these ESL Open Cups, so this is the finals of the ESL Open Cup North America, anybody can participate, but you do have to obviously play in the time slot that the tournament is set up for, and I don't really know exactly at what time the NA Cup is played. It may just be, what I'm getting at, that this particular series was played at like 3 in the morning. You know what I mean? Because this is obviously the last round of the ESL Open Cup for the North American region. So if that's the case, it must have been going on for a little while already, and it probably doesn't start particularly early either. Like, I don't remember the last time I've seen any of these North American games from this particular tournament series live, so that must mean that it's played in the middle of the night, because I live a bit of a boomer schedule. Although, to be fair, these guys are professional gamers, and professional gamers are not really known to go to bed at 10 PM and wake up at 6, you know? Like, that's... that's not really their jam. I think most pro gamers would sooner go to bed at 6 AM and wake up at 10? Well, that doesn't make any sense. Anyways, you get what I'm trying to say. These guys will, generally speaking, not live the most quote-unquote normal day-to-day schedule. Okay. Lurkers on the horizon. That's one of the advantages of playing, well, good old Hydralisk here. Other than the fact that you have a nice counter against the Widowmines, but once more, good control right here for Clem. Keep thinking there's a blue group of units up north there, but those are just changelings on the minimap. They show up as Clem's units. Push over here as well. Once again, though, the creep has not really been put down again in this section of the map. So Clem is just gonna continuously come in here. Oh my god, that's the first time he sees the Vipers. Quick reactions, nice splits as well on the Medivacs, but ultimately this army will get cleaned up. In the meantime, there's a push over here happening in the middle of the map too. Both players clearly needing more APM here. You know you're an active Terran player when all of your Medivacs are empty. There's a couple here that just spawned that still have some leftover energy, but... okay. So Reynor manages to stabilize here. Third command center, or 3 command centers rather, on the production tab at this point. +3/+3 researching. All of this tempo, right, that Clem is trying to build up, it hasn't really happened. Plus, right now he's going up against Lurkers, and Lurkers really, really shut down any sort of Terran timing attacks in these directions. So like, yeah, you carved out all of this creep, but now suddenly there's Lurkers out, and it's gonna take a lot more effort to continue doing attacks. So it's not like Clem is unable to. It's just a lot harder than it once used to be, and that tempo advantage that he created for himself is, well, a lot of it at least is nullified, as he does decide to stim in. Don't recommend doing this in your Terran ladder games. It's very risky at the very least. But I guess if it's only 4 lurkers, you can give it a try. I've just seen it go wrong in so many viewer-submitted replays that 4 lurkers absolutely are capable of destroying a Terran army all by themselves. Okay. That Eva chamber from earlier, low in hit points. I'm assuming that's due to the Vipers. As long as it's got above 0, I guess it's okay. Yeah, this is tough. So, Clem has been trying to kill this base for a while, but he's just not making a lot of headway over there. Second starport on the production tab, too. Ooh! Was that a Widow Mine again? Hold up right now. Do we just constantly have the Widow Mines are dealing about as much friendly fire as they are dealing damage to the Zerg in this particular series. Look at this. Boom. So that was a Widow Mine over there that was connected to the Overseer. So this is the exact reversal of what we had earlier, where a Zergling that was, well, targeted by a Widow Mine on the, obviously the Zerglings on the ground, ended up dealing extra splash damage to the flying units. And now we had the Widow Mine that was attached to the flying units, dealing extra damage to the ground units. Okay. Overlords coming up. As we know, a bunch of those Overseers have been dying. Now the command centers are coming up once more too. So Clem is happy to play the macro game every single time. Yep. Some time ago, you could maybe criticize Clem a little bit for his defensive capabilities. He was very strong offensively. But then usually whenever lurkers came out, he just seemed to be a little out of his comfort zone. These days, though, he's very strong in that department too. But well, in the previous game, we saw him getting a little carried away, right? He was very happy to make all of that infrastructure, make all of those unit-producing structures, and then ultimately, he ended up getting overwhelmed by just the sheer amount of Zerg. And are we going to see a repeat of that once again? Because it's going to be a while until all of those command centers and starports and upgrades and all that are really kicked in. And at this point, Clem is once again flat broke. He's got a lot of, yeah, command centers that he can mine with, but at this point, he just doesn't have any money. Oh, no. This would be a really rough loss, actually, for Clem, because that's a very similar situation as we saw in game number 1 of this particular series. Now the Banelings are even connecting here, too. This planetary is not going to live for too much longer. Every Zerg player's most hated Widow Mines. The ones that are just sprinkled all around the map. They're just in random positions. You try to just, I don't know, march around for a moment and suddenly, yep, half your army goes down to a randomly positioned Widow Mine. Caduceus Reactor this time around after the Liberator ranged upgrade. So I wonder if that was actually a mistake from Clem in the previous game. Maybe he assumed he already got the Liberator ranged upgrade? Because he did make a bunch of Liberators that didn't have their ranged, and he did have Caduceus Reactor, but not a lot of medevacs. It was a little funky. Maybe a late game misstep right there by Clem. Oh. Yeah, we would need a scan against that sort of thing. So what Clem is trying to get to is this ultimate late game force. Reynor, in the meantime, is trying to get to a position where he never has to face that. So he wants to end this game within the next minute or two. Because the longer that this goes on, the stronger that Terran army is going to be. We have some burrowed Banelings here as well. You love to see it. Ay, 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 ay. Very close, but not quite happening. 12 SCVs have still gone down over here, though, on the low ground. Command Center is going to reproduce its... Oh, there we have some Widow Mines, or some Banelings, rather. Pretending to be Widow Mines. Detonating on that bio army. And he's trying to remake that factory at the front, but it ended up going down as well to a little bit of splash damage. Now the Liberators, though, are building 5 at a time. New factory on the horizon. Lurkers, in the meantime, up north. A few of them are going around the site. A few of them are moving forward. Hydra's trying to get a grip on this expansion, but not really happening. Now suddenly, though, it is, well, Reynor who doesn't have a lot of money anymore. So he has been desperately trying to end this game. And it looks to me like Clem has mostly stabilized. Only 64 SCVs right here. 82 drones is a reasonable economy. He's trying to bait him into the banelings. Oh, he got greedy. He could have kept him, man. He got greedy. He got too frustrated by them, I think. He didn't need to do that. He could have just kept them burrowed. Because those 3 banes were not going to achieve much. Alright, Medevac's having a grand old time, and only blood now remains. Hatchery taken here all the way at the bottom of the map that is ordinarily considered to be one of the Terrans. Clem losing a couple of his Liberators. Oh, Widow Mines once again. Set off right there on the Terran army itself too. We're up to 10 libs though. And 10 Liberators is a little bit more than you can comfortably abduct. There's no Corruptors or anything like that in the skies. Instead we have, 4 Vipers right now, and we're gonna get +3 Hydralisks. Okay. Looks like Clem may have been able to stabilize, at least somewhat. He's actually already thinking about going on the offensive right now. That is such a Clem-esque move. He's like, yep, I've weathered the storm. Perfect moment to go on the aggressive and see how it goes. No time to breathe, although apparently a couple of those lurkers are going to distract pretty much the entirety of the Terran army. 13 drones have already fallen. Liberators sent around the map, sniping a few of them at a time. I think Reynor's best answer is to abduct those units. Yeah, that was 1 Viper going down, but 2 Liberators. Yoink. Obviously, EMP can be used as well on those Vipers, so the Ghosts are gonna have to dance here to the best of their abilities. Okay, another abduction. And those Lurkers are making it tough right here for the Terran to push forward. He is denying an entire expansion down south. 15 confirmed kills right there on that 1 Liberator, who's just sort of chilling. Fighting in the speed zone here does seem like a dangerous decision, but it looks like the scan is going to reveal those Lurkers. Despite the fact that Clem is in the choke point, he will be able to mostly clean them up. Finally finishes the job. But I think, with all of those command centers now in full swing, they've all paid for themselves. Clem is carving out a nice advantage for himself in this game. Reynor is not set up here to make a transition towards anything else. There's no Ultras or Brute Lords or even Infestors or anything like that available. It's gonna be more of the same units that we have already seen here, unless he really wants to go into Infestors, but that would slow the game down a lot, and I'm not exactly sure if Clem is ever going to allow that. That may also be the reason why Clem is being so aggressive here. He does not want to give his opponent a lot of time to breathe and to accumulate more energy on his units. Spinecrawler's helping out quite a bit, actually. I think those spines were made to try and deal with a bunch of drops, but Clem still has his foot on the gas. Honestly, that defensive play he just did was phenomenal. It is so easy to crumble under the pressure when you have all of those Terran units, well, just getting picked up out of the production structure, right? After they spawn, they just get killed immediately. Clem somehow, some way, kept his head cool. Pushes over here down south as well. Looks like the Liberator, the hero Lib, may have gone down. It's not this guy. This guy has only got 2 confirmed kills, but... oh no. That's a dangerous Widow Mine right here. Clem at this point, 60 supply ahead of his opponent. Reynor realizes that he needs to keep these bases alive. We have another Liberator just being as obnoxious as possible. Problem right here for Reynor is that he needs to bring a Viper to defend, which is never a good situation to really be in, because he doesn't have any Corruptors. Drones right now pulled away from their mineral lines too. I think that this is going to seal the deal. Reynor desperately trying to hold on, but there's still tons of economy and income right here for Clem. He's going to be able to replace any of these lost units with relative ease. The dozen or so medevacs up in the air, maybe a little much, but they have been helping this Terran army for a long time. Then again, though, suddenly we had like a dozen Hydralisks showing up again. Push over here at the bottom of the map will continue. There's no way that Reynor can push in here, can he? Oh my god, he's actually going to try. We may actually have too much supply caught up in Medevacs here for a while. It can almost be a little bit deceiving. Reynor right here pushes back. This is his final attack, though. I think he basically has to win the game with this, but he is actually carving a bit of a path through these Terran bases. Where's the reinforcements, Clem? Well, he's killing the base over here at the 6 o'clock position on the map, and that is going to seal the deal regardless. But nice effort right there by Reynor. In the end, though, it's Clem who obtains the victory. Game number 3. We find ourselves on the map site Delta. Whew, okay. So for a moment there in that previous game, in game number 2, it looked like Clem was gonna make the same mistake as he did in game number 1. It almost looked like he just built like, I don't know, 4 or 5 command centers. He was starting up his late game upgrades. He was getting additional, well, he was getting an additional starport. I think he may have even added on one more factory too. He was building all that stuff, and then suddenly, Reynor came knocking at his front door. He's like, surprise! I'm here with 100 Zerglings, and, well, I'm maxed out at the moment, but I've got about another 200 coming if you're not careful. For just a moment, it looked like Clem was gonna, well, lose to that once again, but after holding, it seemed like a relatively comfortable game for him. Okay. I wonder if maybe we can slow down on that greed ever so slightly, though. Because Terrans do make a lot of command centers all at the same time. They're like, okay, I'm at 200 supply. I've got my 3-3 coming. I guess I'm gonna spend the next few minutes only building structures. I wonder if you could maybe slow down the structures a little tiny bit. I understand that ideally you want to have those command centers done as quickly as possible, because the mules, they do gain value over time, but I think sometimes you may just be shooting yourself in the foot. Reynor also desperately trying to avoid that late game, right? So he's not really too keen on playing that late game. At least that's what it seems like. Trying to end the game as quickly as possible before we get to that point. Double barracks opener this time around right here for Clement. We'll see if he decides to go for 3 Reapers, 5 Reapers. I've even seen a double barracks opener. I think this was Björn recently, who went for a double barracks opener and then made 2 Reapers. I couldn't make sense of that one. It's at least 3. Yeah, it seems to be 3. That's the gold standard. But a lot of Terrans have been, well, adding on up to 5. And it's actually pretty doable to kill a Zerg's 3rd base if you do go up to 5. We'd have to see 1 more right now. Yep. Cool. So this is a new variant of the 3 Reaper opener where you don't go 3 Reapers. So maybe we should come up with some more creative names. It's a 3 Reaper opener with 5 Reapers. I feel like that would make no sense to any StarCraft. No, like somebody who's like a casual StarCraft viewer. You're like, what? How can it be a 3 Reaper opener with 5 Reapers? But it really is. Or it could be 4 Reapers. No, he canceled the Reaper. Never mind, guys. It's a 3 Reaper opener with 3 Reapers. Yeah, no, it's still 3 Reapers. Forget everything I said. He decided to cancel it and add on a factory and then a 3rd command center and all the rest of it instead. I mean, 3 Reapers are still capable of killing a 3rd. Brenda! Karen! Karen's a little afraid of leaving her brood because there's a little jump up spot right over here. That 3rd base is actually in some trouble. It's a very anticlimactic kill. Yep. Oh, even gets the drone too. God, this is pretty rough though here for Reynor. Supply-wise? Yeah, so supply-wise this doesn't look that bad for him, but I think Clem is looking at this game right now. He's like, wait a second. Why did he not even try? Is this some sort of 2-base all-in? Oh my god, getting the queen here would be huge. Oh my god, that is really rough. I think it's totally fine to give up 2 Reapers for a queen here. So what exactly is Clem going up against at this point? Well, I would imagine... Oh, really? It's some sort of shitty 2-base all-in, you know? Like, that's what I would be putting my money on right now if I was a Terran. Not the case, though. Jack Frost himself decides to go double Evo off of this. So we're going double upgrades before Lair. Now, this is a massive indicator of wanting to play a macro game. Because I don't see exactly what sort of like Ling Bane timing attack you can go for if you don't have Baneling speed. If you go for a Lair right now, Bane speed will be done after the 1-1 upgrades. So it's probably just gonna be Zerglings. Yeah. This is Reynor trying to take a page out of Dark's book. It's like, okay, well, my game is not off to a great start. I guess we'll just make a bunch of stuff. This is where you get to be a flexible man. Keep in mind that those Cyclones are not as expensive as they once used to be. Those were made as mostly just a safety precaution, because I think Clem was a little concerned of like a bunch of roaches marching through the center of the map. One thing that Reynor does have, though, is just those really quick upgrades. So, engineering bays are coming up. If we can somehow force this game to go on for a lot longer, we should be okay. What are we doing with the armory at this point? Especially considering most of the Hellions have died. It does not seem like the best choice, but... maybe just a little concerned here for some sort of strange 2-base all-in. I don't think it's really the case. No, I think Reynor is basically looking at this and he's saying, yo, I hope my opponent over-prepares, because he knows that he killed the 3rd base. So he killed the 3rd base. He probably assumes that I'm going to go for a 2-base all-in against this. Maybe some sort of quick tech. But what if I just don't do that and I play a macro game instead? Can I make up for the 300 minerals or so that I lost for that 3rd command, or that 3rd, well, Zerg command center? I guess he's made up for it by now. 1-1 upgrades. Done. We don't have any units though. Just a good old Hellion timing attack with, well, 3 Hellbats, I guess, in the mix here. So Reynor just playing a super greedy game on the back of this. Baneling speed starting up right now, together with +2 armor. Losing the 4th would actually kind of suck for him, but he does have another 4th on the right side. No cancel. Wow, okay. No cancel on that base. That's a big blunder. Point scored right there for Clem. 2nd factory. So Clem just happily macroing up, doing what Clem does best. Not really playing too fancy, not really taking any chances. Slow and steady wins the race. And with slow and steady, I mean some of the fastest Terran gameplay in the world. But strategically, nothing all too spicy. Variations of the same theme, I guess. There's no, I don't know, heavy mech play like we've seen from, for example, Cure as of late, where he's playing a bunch of mech, or strange Cyclone timing attacks, like, for example, what Hero Marine has been doing a bit at Home Story Co. Nah, just good old Marines, Marauders, Medivacs, Mines. Any unit that starts with the letter M. And Liberators. Miberators. We should start a petition to rename the Liberator to something that starts with an M. Would have been so nice. Okay. This hatchery is low. Pushing the main base continues. Okay, well, Reynor is just very unhappy with the way that this game has gone, and he decides to get out. Golden Aura is gonna be our 3rd game for today. No, it's our 4th game for today. Game number 3 was over so quick, I already forgot about it. Nah, that game was just horrible for Reynor overall. You really don't want to lose your 3rd base to just a Triple Reaper opener. Okay. Clem, apparently, despite the fact that he managed to deal a lot of damage with a Triple Reaper start, decides, you know what? Nah. We're not doing it. Nah. We'll just open up with the standard build once again. You know what? I'm gonna do a magic trick. You wanna see? This is me waving my magic wand right now. What? How does he do it? Huh? What? How does he? Whoa. Alright, ta-da! I did it. I pulled a Reaper out of my hat. Normally this unit takes about another minute and a half to produce, but I did it in like 15 seconds. Nice, right? So, Clem goes for an SCV scout into a Reaper. Drone hides on over on the left side of the map to turn itself into a hatchery in just a moment. Do you think it's a promotion to be turned into a hatchery? Or a punishment? I find it with a hatchery, it's more logical that it's a promotion, right? Like, you get to be the chosen drone. But, Zergling that gets morphed into a Baneling. Punishment or promotion? These are the sort of questions that keep me up at night. Yes, you get turned into a suicide unit, but you're a Zergling already. Like, you know, it's not that much different in the end. I would say that since Banelings are more unique... Oh, that's nice, getting the tumor. I would say that since Banelings are... And we do have a Cyclone start. Don't you look at that? Triple CC still, though. So just no Hellions. Okay. I would say since it's more unique, it's probably a promotion. I feel like being a Baneling is a lot more fun, too, than being a Zergling. Because first off, you get to run around with your buddies, which seems pretty enjoyable. And then secondly, you get to roll around with your buddies. Yeah, plus you have like a glow-in-the-dark outfit. I think it's a promotion. Roach into Ravager is definitely a promotion. Hydra to a Lurker is even more so a promotion too. Corruptor into a Brute Lord. I would call that a promotion too. Yeah, if I was a Hydralisk, I would want to be, like, I would dream of being a Lurker. Like, that would be the only thing I would ever want in my life. Because being a Hydralisk, you get turned from like a 4 out of 10 unit into like a 9 out of 10 unit, you know? Like, a Lurker is pretty amazing. A Hydralisk is strongly mediocre. Yeah, and maybe Brute Lords are much slower than Corruptors are, but at the very least, you get to be a Lord. A little bit of a dance over here, but ultimately, I was gonna say, this is... It's all nice and dandy until the Zerglings show up. That looked really cute right there for Clem. He was like, yeah, let's dance with the queens, back up. Woo, lock on, transfusions. And then the Zerglings were like, nah-uh. Clem is like, well, you know what? People criticize me for playing the same strategy over and over and over again, so this is what happens! This is why I do the same thing! Double Evolution Chamber. On the back of this. You know, when I see a group of Cyclones like that die, right? Obviously, that was not good right there for Clem. But, it was 4 Cyclones, and these Cyclones don't cost nearly as much as they once used to. Like, I noticed for myself, whenever I see 4 Cyclones like that get surrounded, I noticed that I think they're like the same cost of the old Cyclone before it got reworked with the most recent balance patch. Like, losing 4 Cyclones in the previous balance patch like that would have been the end of the game. But I think it's pretty recoverable. Two Templar that get morphed into an Archon. Punishment or promotion? Like, what if you're a Templar, as we do have the Zerglings running in right here. What if you're gonna be merged together with one of those Templar who can only talk about football all day? Like, that would definitely be a punishment. I would not want to be merged together with one of those guys. Maybe it's the highest honor, though. It really does depend on the Templar. Anyways, Baiting Nest, very late here for Reynor. That should have lined up together with the lair here, because we're not actually making use of the lair. Clem pushing forward here once again. Oh, okay. So, Reynor thinking the same thing. He decides to go for a spire of all structures. Nice push over here once again, though, by the French Terran. Getting a good bit of damage done. Flies away. Now, one thing that Clem has done in every single game so far here today is focus heavily on drops, right? This man loves making, well, medevacs fly around the map. Maybe even more so than Björn. Yeah. Mutas are gonna spoil that party. Clem is not gonna be able to fly mutas, or sorry, fly medevacs around as much with mutas roaming the battlefield. Which is a little risky. Björn would still do it though. Björn goes up against a guy who's gonna mute us. Just sneak them around the outside. Cross your fingers, hope there's no overlord. It's a brilliant plan. What could possibly go wrong? Nice targeting right there on the Baneling. Nice targeting right there with the Banelings. Okay, so the light at the end of the tunnel right here for Mr. Jack Frost is... Oh, we do have a... Oh, I missed it. In my defense, Clem also did miss it. How did these guys go all the way around? Did they really go around the supply depot? Is that what just happened here? Without Baneling speed? Clem had about 7... Oh, no, they didn't need to go... What? They got a little insecure right there at the end. They were like, are you sure, buddy? I don't really want to... Just go, bro! Okay. That's what happened right over there in that choke point. 17 SCVs end up falling. And that is right before the mutas come out, actually, which is really nice for Reynor. So he's already shut down a lot of that tempo. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, committing to mutas right now could be a little risky. Because that's a lot of resources caught up in units that don't really help out with defending all too much. So we do have a big Zergling run by over here. Clem making a bunch of uncharacteristic errors. Push over here at the front. Reynor now with 1,200 resources in the... Or 2,200, rather. Resources in the bank. Now the mutas finally start up, but I guess he doesn't have the larva. Remember those queens earlier? Jimmy over here, dude. Hard at work. 111 hit points remain. Do we still have those Hellions from earlier? No, the Hellions were chilling over here in that spot against the Banelings. Literally chilling. Okay, so that was a scary moment there for Reynor, but it looks like he survived. Mostly because Clem was giving him the benefit of the doubt. Jimmy's still inside of the plane, by the way. I was wondering if he would one day be capable of killing that hatch, but I don't think it's gonna happen. Yeah, so... Clem, really good against Muta play as well. I think he just has lost a little too much. Gonna boost away, bring his reinforcements across the map. Jimmy is also still wandering around the map. He's got his own private plane, okay? You may make fun of him, but this dude is one of the Giga Chads. This guy has a group of nurses helping him get back up to full HP inside of that medevac. Don't make fun of Jimmy. There he is. Look at him. Practically as good as new. Jimmy is absolutely a 1%er, yeah. Oh, looks like the mutas get across the map. Oh no, the SCV stopped repairing because they repaired the structure to full HP. In the meantime, on the other side of the map, the hatchery did fall. It looks like my selection of Jimmy has also disappeared, so that can only mean one thing. He got redirected to become a Thor controller. Yeah, that's what happened. Surely. He got called back home. He got recalled to, to become a Thor operator. Maybe he got picked up by a medevac. Many different options. Anyways, Thor is gonna start shooting some of those Javelin missiles, but Clem has really fallen apart. He's doing a good job with his army, but I think he's just lost too much economy. Yeah, so he's currently sitting at 37 workers. And I think his trades have been decent. Yeah, he's taken way less damage as far as resources lost goes than his opponent, but he just doesn't have enough stuff. And more stuff pretty much always beats less stuff. That's the nature of StarCraft 2. Zergling counterattack. The Reynor Classic, getting rid of some of those final workers that Clem still has. All that Reynor now really needs to do is clean up this particular army, and he should be A-okay. Still scary though, dude. There's no way. GG. Alrighty. And that will take us to Alcyone. Final game in today's best of 5 series. Final game of this particular Open Cup Grand Finals. Do you think Clem is going to do anything weird? Oh, well, you know what? It starts at the very least with a... I was going to say a double barracks opener, but not necessarily. No, this could definitely just be a single barracks into a factory. Although, I feel like that's more like a Maru thing to do. Especially in these spawn locations. I don't actually love the low ground wall off because your add-ons are so exposed, but 15 hatch in the meantime right here for Reynor. Okay. Will it be a double barracks? That's the question right here. Triple Reaper seemed to serve him quite well earlier on in this particular series. It looks like we are going to bring it out one more time. I like this start actually for Terran. I think it's really strong. It's funny how it took like 13 years of StarCraft 2's meta to develop to the point where Terrans were like, yo, what about we build 2 barracks, but we don't build them on the other side of the map? What about we build them on our side of the map instead of proxy them? Minds were blown. Now, I guess it's mostly the positioning and the amount of Reapers you actually make, because when you think about it, it's a bit funky to make just 3 Reapers off of 2 barracks. But it lines up very nicely, and the amount of variation in the follow-up is actually notable too. Like, the most common follow-up is to go for a factory into a reactor and then eventually a starport and go for a bunch of medevacs. That's just one of the many options, though. It can lead to, like, I don't know, a Hellbat all-in. There are so many different things you can do with it that it's quite tricky for the Zerg player to figure out exactly what's happening. Plus, you can do a triple Reaper opener with 5 Reapers. Although that is a little cursed. Yeah. In general, the naming scheme for StarCraft strategies is a bit lame. Like, oh, it's 2 barracks, 1 factory, 1 starport. What do we call it? 2-1-1. Oh, it's a roach attack with +1 missile. What do we call it? +1 roach speed. We could have come up with so many cool names. You know, like chess strategies have all these cool names. I love the word gambit. I think gambit is a really cool word. I guess it's just difficult, and this must be the same thing in chess too, but maybe the games are better documented or something. But it must be difficult to dedicate a... Did we do it? Yeah, we did a triple Reaper opener with 2 Reapers, guys. This is what I was talking about earlier. Maybe it's difficult to attribute a certain strategy to one guy. Yeah, Gumiho's build orders are very much so Gumiho's build orders. But yeah, the Photon Cannon Gambit. The German Taxi. I love the German Taxi strategy. I think that's a fun name. Because it's a taxi for the queens and a drop-a-lord, and it was, you know, invented by Lambo, who happens to be German. It's not that creative, but it's pretty fun. Very quick Roach Warren right here, by the way, for Mr. Reynor, who seems to be opening up 2 base Roaches. In game number 1 of this particular series, he did not get link speed until much later. Instead, we've decided to go for, yeah, link speed now into a quick Roach Warren. Are we gonna go for a link flood on the back of this? So 5 Roaches are coming up. These are very fast Roaches. Clem actually responding on purpose here with Cyclones. So in the past, you would have to fight this with Stimpack and, well, eventually Stimpack anyways, and maybe Hellions, a Banshee if you're really lucky. I guess the MechSpecs opener, also very creative. It was invented by MechSpecs. The only problem is that MechSpecs no longer plays it, because it's considered to be a pretty mediocre strategy. As we still have the Roach Link push coming across. We still see it from time to time. We do have the Loko maneuver, of course. Never forget about the Loko maneuver. Which I did not invent. But I take full credit for it nonetheless. Because it makes me sound good. Anyways. It's a Roach Ravager Link push. Very careful now, Clem. Don't be caught out in the middle of nowhere. That Stimpack upgrade is so exposed. Zerglings trying to get the wraparound, but it looks like the Cyclones are very greased up. Yeah, that just popped out of the factory, man. They're as good as new. Okay, at the very least, the Stimpack upgrade gets denied, but I don't think that even remotely justifies this opener right here for Reynor. Still, though, it means that those Marines are not going to hit a sudden power spike, and that will make life better. So if this would have been done on the other side of the map, Clem's add-ons would have been a lot more, well, safe, right? Because they would have still spawned on the right side, on the safe side of that wall-off. Because of all of this, Reynor has decided to double down on the aggression. We have a little bit of a medevac here pretending to be a war prism. Fair enough. Okay, try to go for a lucky basketball hit right there. Maybe not ideal. The StarCraft alley-oop right there. Maybe, maybe not easy. Oh, we gotta try it again. Oh, he's trying to dunk the Cyclones. Nice attempt right there. But Jack Frost was not tall enough. Okay, so we're gonna go and research Stimpack again in the most exposed location possible. This is a Terran move right here. This is one of those... I don't understand. Why do we always research it in the most exposed location? That is some Terran logic. Do we have enough? That is an awful lot of Ravagers. Well, this funnel over here, though, is amazing here for Clem. Marines forced to move around, but those guys have been shooting the Zerglings bloody over there. 17 SCVs fall? Oh. Very close, actually. Keep in mind that losing those SCVs is not that big of a deal. This is a triple CC opener right here for Clem. And because of that, I mean, just mules alone will probably face off decently well against Reynor's economy. Whoop. So ultimately, this is a very good position for Clem. Yeah, it may look a little shaky. Where's the siege tank at? Oh, it's inside of the plane. I was gonna say, am I that blind? I was actually staring at my screen so hard. I was like, where is it? No way, everybody's gonna make fun of me. But it was inside of the medevac. Okay, alright, alright. Close call there by me. Yeah, this is one hell of a funnel here. GG is called right away. Yeah, this was a complete all-in here by Reynor. Still stuck on just 32 drones. He's forced to tap out of the game. Triple Command Center Terran is amazing against this style. So, it's Clem who obtains the victory 3-2 over Reynor with a beautiful defense.